My name is Whitney Henderson. I'm 38 years old. 3 weeks ago, I was sitting in a hospital room watching my mother struggle to form words after a stroke, and the first full sentence she finally managed to say was, "Your brother told me you didn't want me anymore." That sentence cracked something deep inside me, because for 18 months I had been calling, texting, driving 4 hours to visit, and my brother Derek had been blocking every single attempt. He moved back into Mom's house after his divorce. He told her I had abandoned her. He changed her phone number. He redirected her bank statements to a P.O. box under his name. And while my 71-year-old mother sat alone in that house, believing her daughter had forgotten about her, Derek was draining her savings account. $340,000, 247 withdrawals. The last one happened at the hospital ATM just 3 hours after Mom's stroke. Before I tell you exactly how I found out and what I did next, take a moment to like and subscribe, but only if you feel this story is worth hearing. Drop a comment and tell me where you're watching from and what time it is where you are. Now let me take you back 18 months to the day. My brother moved into Mom's house, and everything slowly began to change. Derek called me on a Tuesday in March. I was at my desk at Richmond Memorial, buried under a pile of insurance claims, when his name lit up my phone screen. He never called during work hours. I answered and heard something I hadn't heard since we were kids. My older brother crying. His wife Tammy had filed for divorce. She got the house in Henrico County. She got primary custody of their 2 boys, Mason and Tyler. Derek had 30 days to find a place to live. "I've got nothing, Whit," he said. "Just a duffel bag and a maxed-out credit card." I didn't hesitate. "Move in with Mom. She's been alone since Dad passed. She'd love having you there." He paused for a second. "You think she'd really be okay with that?" "Derek, she asks about you every time I call." I called Mom that same night. Dorothy Henderson, 71 years old, a retired elementary school teacher, living alone in the same 3-bedroom house in Millfield, Virginia. White picket fence, azalea bushes lining the driveway. The porch swing Dad built the summer before he got sick. She said yes before I could even finish explaining. I wired Derek $2,000 the next morning. Moving costs, groceries for the first month. He texted back, "You're the only one who understands, Whit. Thank you." 2 weeks later, my neighbor Patty Greer, Mom's best friend for over 20 years, called me. "Your mom is so happy," she said. "Derek's cooking dinner every night. It feels like the house has life again." I smiled, I really did. Then Patty added almost casually, "Oh, Derek told me not to mention it, but your mama had a small fall last week. She's fine though." I called Derek that night. He brushed it off with a laugh. "She slipped on the porch steps. I was right there. Didn't want you to worry. I let it go. He was my brother. Why wouldn't I trust him?" The first month felt normal. I called Mom every Sunday at 6, just like always. She told me about the garden, about the new curtains Derek hung in the kitchen, about the pot roast he made that was almost as good as Dad's. "Almost," I teased. "Not quite," she said, and we both laughed. By the second month, the calls got shorter. "Mom, how are you feeling?" "Tired, honey, just tired." "Did you go to Dr. Patel this week? Derek took me." "I'm fine." Then she would hand the phone to Derek, or he'd already be on the line. "Mom's resting, Whit. She'll call you later." She never did. Every month I transferred $500 into Mom's checking account. Medication co-pays, groceries, small things her pension didn't fully cover. I had been doing it since Dad passed away. It was automatic. I never expected thanks, but Mom always mentioned it. "Got your deposit, sweetheart. You don't have to do that." Every single month until she stopped mentioning it. "Derek, did Mom get the transfer this month?" "Yeah, she said thanks. She just forgot to tell you." My mother taught 2nd grade for 31 years. She wrote thank you cards for thank you cards. Dorothy Henderson did not forget things like that. But I told myself she was adjusting. Having Derek in the house was a big change. She was probably just settling into a new routine. I checked my bank app. The transfers were going through. Same account, same amount. The money was landing. That felt like enough. I didn't have access to her savings account. I never needed it. She was my mother, not my client. And Derek was there. Derek was handling things. That's what I kept telling myself. May came around. Tax season finally eased up. I had been working 60-hour weeks at the hospital, staring at billing codes until my eyes blurred. I picked up the phone to call Mom one Sunday evening and heard 3 sharp tones. "The number you have dialed is no longer in service. The number you have dialed is no longer in service." I called again. Same message. I tried her cell, disconnected, my hands went cold. I called Derek. "Oh yeah, Mom switched carriers." "New number," he said quickly. Reading off 10 digits. "Sorry, I forgot to send it to you." I called the new number Monday morning. Voicemail. Tuesday, voicemail. Wednesday, voicemail. I left messages each time. Gentle ones. "Hey Mom, Just checking in. Call me when you can. No response. The following Saturday, I drove 4 hours south to Millfield. The dogwoods were blooming along Route 15, and the afternoon light hit the Blue Ridge Mountains just right, but I barely noticed. I pulled into Mom's gravel driveway at 3 p.m. Derek met me at the front door. Not Mom, Derek. She's out with friends, he said, leaning against the doorframe. I looked past him. Mom's Buick was parked in the garage. Her car is right there. Patty drove her. They went to the garden center. I called Patty from the driveway. Did you take Mom somewhere today? No, sweetheart. I've been home all day. When I walked back to the porch, Derek just shrugged. Must have been someone from church. Then he acted like it was nothing. I stayed for an hour. Mom never showed up. Derek made small talk about the Orioles and poured me iced tea I didn't drink. That night, back in my apartment in Richmond, I got a text from Mom's new number. Whitney, I need some space. Please don't come by for a while. The wording felt wrong. My mother had never used the word space in her life, but Derek was my brother, and I still believed that meant something. Growing up in the Henderson house, there were two types of kids. Derek, the varsity quarterback, homecoming king, the son who made Dad proud at every Friday night game. And me, honor roll every semester, working at Creekside Pharmacy after school, graduating summa cum laude from James Madison. Mom clipped my report cards to the fridge. Dad framed Derek's football jerseys on the den wall. I'm not saying I was ignored. I wasn't. My parents loved me, but Derek filled a different kind of space in our family. He was the story people told. I was the one who stayed after everyone left to clean up the dishes. When Dad was diagnosed with stage 4 pancreatic cancer 8 years ago, Derek flew in for the big moments. The diagnosis meeting, the surgery, the last weekend, I was the one who drove Dad to chemo every Thursday for 7 months. I sat beside him in those stiff vinyl chairs while poison dripped into his veins, and he told me stories about the summer he met Mom at a county fair. After Dad passed, I handled the medical bills. $12,000 insurance didn't cover. I paid it from my savings over 14 months. Number 1 asked me to. Number 1 even knew I did it. I still have the receipts in a manila envelope in my filing cabinet. At the memorial dinner, Aunt Karen, Dad's older sister, 65 years old with silver hair and a voice like a church bell, placed her hand on Derek's shoulder and said, loud enough for everyone to hear, Derek gave up everyone to hear. Derek gave up everything to be close to your mama. What's your excuse, Whitney? I was standing right there. I had written the final check to Mercy General just 2 days earlier. I didn't say anything, I never did. That was the pattern. Derek got the praise. I did the work. And I kept allowing it because I believed blood meant trust. By August, 5 months after Derek moved in, my mother had disappeared from her own life. She stopped going to Millfield Baptist, the church she had attended every Sunday for 30 years. Not for snowstorms, not for illness, not even the week we buried Dad. I called Pastor David. He said Derek had contacted the church office. Your mom isn't feeling well. She'll come back when she's stronger. I called Dr. Patel's office next. The receptionist checked the system. Mrs. Henderson has canceled her last 3 appointments. Who canceled them? It looks like someone called on her behalf. I started writing letters. Real pen-on-paper letters sent through the post office, because I thought Derek couldn't intercept those. At least that's what I believed. I wrote 3 over the next month. None were returned. None were answered. September was. Mom's birthday, 71. I ordered her favorite yellow roses, 2 dozen, with a card that said, Happy birthday, Mom. I love you. Call me anytime. Whitney, I had them delivered to the house. Derek sent me a photo that evening. Mom was sitting at the kitchen table, roses placed in a glass vase, smiling at the camera. She loves them. Thanks, Whit. I stared at that picture for a long time. The smile looked real. The eyes didn't. Mom had lost weight. Her collarbones showed sharply under her blouse. Behind her, the kitchen counter was messy with takeout boxes and unopened mail. I zoomed in closer. On the counter, partly hidden behind a pizza box, there was a stack of envelopes. I couldn't clearly read the return address, but the top one was from Shenandoah Valley Federal Credit Union, Mom's bank. It sat there unopened, and something in the back of my mind, the part trained by 15 years of spotting billing errors, started whispering. I ran the numbers the same way I handle hospital audits, calm and step by step. Mom's savings account had $340,000. That was 30 years of teaching, decades of clipping coupons, skipping vacations, driving the same Buick until the odometer passed 200,000 miles. Dad used to joke that Mom could squeeze a nickel until it cried. She saved because saving was how she showed love. Every dollar was her way of making sure her kids would be okay. Her pension brought in $2,100 a month. Social Security added another $1,400. That covered groceries, utilities, property tax, and her medications. The savings account was her safety net, the thing that would pay for assisted living if she ever needed it. Around $4,000 to $6,000 a month, depending on the place. Without those savings, she would run out of options within a year. If Derek was spending Mom's money, and I still had no proof, only a growing fear, and I did nothing, then this is what would happen. The savings would disappear. Mom would have no backup. If her health got worse, I would be the one covering everything on a hospital billing specialist's salary. And if Derek somehow got legal guardianship before I understood what was going on, he would have full control. But that wasn't what kept me awake at night. The real fear was this. My mother might die believing her daughter abandoned her. 18 months of silence. Not because I chose it, but because someone built a wall between us and told her I put it there. I still didn't have proof. Only instinct and a photo of an unopened bank envelope. On October 14th at 2:13 in the morning, my phone rang. The caller ID showed a Millfield number, but it wasn't Derek. It was Patty Greer, and she was crying. "Whitney, you need to come now. Your mama had a stroke." The ambulance just took her. I was on I-64 South within 12 minutes. It was 2:15 in the morning. Rain poured across the windshield, my hands tight on the steering wheel. The Civic's headlights cut through fog in the Shenandoah Valley. I didn't turn on the radio. I didn't cry. I drove 4 hours and 5 minutes. Millfield Regional, emergency entrance. I parked badly across 2 spaces and ran inside. The woman at the front desk pointed me to the 4th floor, room 412. I took the stairs because the elevator felt too slow. The door was half open. Mom lay in the bed, eyes closed, tubes in her arm, a monitor beeping in a steady rhythm. The left side of her face drooped slightly. A thin line of drool ran from the corner of her mouth to the pillow. Derek sat in the chair in the corner. A paper coffee cup rested on the windowsill next to him. His phone was in his hand. He looked up when I walked in. "Oh, you came." I stood in the doorway, still in the sweatpants I had thrown on in the middle of the night. "Why didn't you call me?" "I called the doctors. I was handily." NG it. "Mom had a stroke, Derek. Patty called me at 2 a.m. You had 3 hours. He set his phone face down on his leg. "I was going to call you in the morning. I didn't want to wake you." I looked at my mother, at the machines, at the IV drip, at Derek's coffee cup. He had time to get coffee. A nurse walked by in the hallway. I gently touched her arm. "Excuse me, were you on shift when Mrs. Henderson was admitted?" She nodded. 11:02 p.m. I turned back to Derek. He was already looking at his phone again. The nurse leaned closer to me and spoke quietly. "Just so you know, your brother took your mother's wallet and phone from her belongings bag right after she was admitted. Said he needed to keep them safe. Derek left the room around 7 to get breakfast." I had been sitting there for almost an hour, watching Mom's chest rise and fall, counting seconds between each beep of the monitor. When her eyes opened, they looked confused and distant. Her right hand moved slightly under the blanket. The left side of her face barely responded. I moved my chair closer and took her hand. "Mom, it's Whitney. I'm here." She blinked slowly. Her lips parted. A sound came out rough and broken, like words dragged over gravel. She tried again and again. Then slowly, one piece at a time, she said it. "He told me you didn't want me anymore." The monitor beeped. The fluorescent light buzzed softly. Somewhere down the hallway, a cart rolled across the floor. "Who told you that, Mom?" Her eyes shifted toward the door, toward the hallway where Derek had just walked. I didn't move. I didn't raise my voice. I held her hand and breathed slowly, the way the grief counselor had taught me after Dad died. 18 months. For 18 months, my mother lived in that house believing I didn't care. She sat at that kitchen table, looking at a phone that never rang because Derek made sure it couldn't, and thought her daughter had left her. She spent holidays alone with a man who was stealing from her and calling it love. I squeezed her hand gently. "Mom, I called you every week. He changed your number. I came to visit twice, and he told me you didn't want to see me." She closed her eyes. A tear slid from the corner of her eye onto the pillow. I didn't cry. That would come later. Right now, I needed to think. Because if Derek lied about me, what else had he lied about me? What else had he lied about? I found the charge nurse at the station down the hall. My mother's belongings, her wallet, and phone. "Where are they?" The nurse checked her notes. Her son, Derek Henderson, took them last night. Said he would keep them in the car. "I want them back. I'm her daughter. You'll need to speak with him directly. He's listed as the primary contact." I went back to the room and waited. Derek came back at 7:30, holding a blueberry muffin and fresh coffee like it was a normal morning. "I need Mom's wallet," I said. He took a bite of the muffin. "It's at the house. Safer there. Bring it here. Why? Mom needs her things. I'll pick them up." I can handle that. Derek, give me Mom's wallet. He chewed slowly. 5 seconds passed. Then he said, I'll look for it when I go home tonight. And her ATM card? His jaw paused for just a second, barely noticeable. Then he shrugged. It's in the wallet. Then bring it today. He didn't answer. He just pulled out his phone and started scrolling. I walked out to the parking lot, sat in my Civic, and called Shenandoah Valley Federal Credit Union. An automated voice answered. Press 1 for accounts. Press 2 for customer service. I need to check the status of a savings account. The account holder is Dorothy Henderson. I'm her daughter, Whitney Henderson. Ma'am, for account access, you'll need to visit a branch in person with VA. Lid identification. Where's the nearest branch? Millfield. On Main Street. Opens at 9. I looked at the clock on my dashboard. 8:47. He couldn't look me in the eye when I asked about that card. His jaw paused for half a second, but I noticed it. I turned the key in the ignition. The Millfield branch of Shenandoah Valley Federal sat between a hardware store and a small diner on Main Street. I walked in at 9:03 with my driver's license, my birth certificate, and a tight feeling in my chest. The branch manager, Russell Cahill, a broad man in a navy blazer, shook my hand firmly. I told him my mother was in the hospital. I told him I needed to see her savings account activity. He checked my ID, looked at the system, and pulled up Dorothy Henderson's account. Then he paused. The kind of pause that feels heavy. Let me print this for you, he said. The printer hummed. 14 pages came out. I sat down and started reading. The first withdrawal, $800, 3 days after Derek moved in. Then $500, $1,200, $2,000. The amounts kept growing. Some weeks had 3 transactions. Some had 5. ATM withdrawals, counter withdrawals, Zelle transfers, debit purchases, all from one account. All over 18 months, 247 transactions. Total withdrawn, $340,000. Account balance, $43.17. My hand stayed steady until page 10. By page 12, they weren't. I turned to the last page, the final line. ATM withdrawal, $300. Time 11:47 p.m. Location. ATM location, ATM Mercy General Hospital. My mother had been admitted at 11:02 p.m. 45 minutes. He waited 45 minutes while she was being taken into the ER, walked downstairs, and withdrew money from the ATM in the lobby. I set the papers down. Russell cleared his throat. There's one more thing. The mailing address on this account was changed 16 months ago. Statements were redirected to a P.O. box. He turned his screen toward me. Box 2, 247. Registered to Derek Henderson, $43.17. That was all that remained of my mother's entire life savings. I'm going to pause here for a second because when I was sitting in that bank looking at those 14 pages, I thought about every call my brother blocked, every visit he stopped, every lie he told my mother about me. If you've ever had someone in your family use your absence against you, you understand exactly how that feels. Drop a comment and tell me where you're watching from and what time it is. And if this story feels close to you, subscribe because what I did next matters. Now back to the story. I checked into the Millfield Motor Inn that afternoon. $49 a night, floral bedspread, a window unit that sounded like it had its own attitude. I spread all 14 pages across the bed and opened my laptop. This is what I do for a living. I reconcile hospital billing statements for a living. I match procedure codes to insurance payments. I find the one line that doesn't belong, the charge that slipped through, the decimal placed in the wrong column. 15 years of training my eyes to catch what doesn't fit. I highlighted the records in yellow for ATM withdrawals, pink for point-of-sale purchases, green for electronic transfers. Then I started building a spreadsheet. Date, amount, location, category. The patterns started to appear within an hour. $28,000 in Zelle transfers to an account under the name Megan Torres. I had never heard that name before. I searched Derek's Facebook. There she was, tagged in a photo from June, his arm around her at a rooftop bar in Charlottesville. His new girlfriend, paid for with our mother's retirement money, $15,000 in payments to Bet Rivers, an online gambling site, spread across dozens of smaller transactions. 50 here, 200 there, then one single charge of $3,000 on a Friday night. $47,000 in credit card payments. All 2 cards in Derek's name. A $6,200 purchase at Blue Ridge Motors. I checked the date against Derek's Instagram. 2 days later, he posted a picture of a silver Dodge Charger with the caption, "Fresh start." My mother's fresh start money, her 30 years of teaching, her coupon clipping, skipped vacations, and careful saving turned into gambling losses, a girlfriend's transfers, and a muscle car. I saved the spreadsheet and backed it up to my cloud drive. Then I pulled out 3 counter-withdrawal slips that Russell had photocopied, the ones that required signatures. Mom's name was on each one, but the handwriting didn't look right. The slant was off. The loops were too tight. The capital D in Dorothy didn't match the way she had always written it. I took photos of everything. At 1 a.m., sitting cross-legged on that motel bed with my laptop resting on a pillow, I found Claire Whitmore on the Virginia State Bar website. Elder law attorney, Charlottesville office, 14 years of experience in financial abuse and guardianship cases. I emailed her a summary at 1:20 a.m. She replied at 7:15. Can you come in today? Her office was on the second floor of a brick building near the downtown mall. She was younger than I expected, mid-40s. Dark hair pulled back, reading glasses resting on her nose. No small talk. She pointed to the chair across from her desk. Show me what you have. I laid out the 14 pages, the printed spreadsheet in color, the P.O. box registration, the photos of the signatures. She read silently for 20 minutes. Then she removed her glasses. This is clear elder financial exploitation. Systematic withdrawals, redirected mail, social isolation of the victim, and likely cognitive decline that started before the stroke. She tapped the signature photos, and these don't match. She explained my options. File a report with Adult Protective Services. They woe. Old open an investigation, notify the Commonwealth Attorney's Office for possible criminal charges, and petition the court for emergency guardianship to protect mom going forward. The bank records alone are strong, she said. But if we can get a medical evaluation showing your mother had reduced capacity during this time, the case becomes very solid. I looked at the papers between us. If I file, could Derek go to prison? Claire met my eyes. With this amount, elder financial exploitation is a felony in Virginia? Yes, he could. The room felt very still. This isn't a family disagreement, Miss Henderson, she said. This is a crime, and your mother is the victim. I drove back to Mercy General that afternoon and went straight to the 4th floor, room 412. A nurse I hadn't seen before stopped me. I'm sorry, visiting for Mrs. Soditz, visiting for Mrs. Proke. Henderson has been restricted. Family only. I am family. I'm her daughter. She checked her clipboard. The primary caregiver, Derek Henderson, submitted a visitor restriction request this morning. Only immediate household members. My mother doesn't have household members. She has children. I'm one of them. The nurse looked uncomfortable but didn't move. You'll need to speak with administration. I called Derek from the hallway. He answered on the first ring, like he had been expecting it. Why am I blocked from seeing mom? The doctor said she needs rest. You showing up and questioning her isn't helping. I'm not questioning her. I'm her daughter. A daughter who didn't visit once in 18 months? His voice was smooth and controlled, the same tone he used when convincing people to sign contracts. I'm protecting Mom, Whitney. I kept my voice calm. You're protecting Mom by taking $340,000 from her account. 5 seconds of silence. Then the call ended. 1 hour later, my phone buzzed. A group text from Derek to the D. Entire Henderson family. Aunt Karen, Uncle Bob, cousins Rachel and Tim. Even Pastor David. Hey everyone, just wanted to let you know Whitney showed up at the hospital making accusations and upsetting Mom. She hasn't been around for 18 months, and now she's trying to take control of Mom's finances while Mom can barely speak. I need your support. Mom needs stability, not drama. Aunt Karen replied within 3 minutes. Derek, you're your mom's rock. We support you. 100%. My phone kept buzzing. Uncle Bob, cousin Rachel, all supporting Derek. Not one of them called to hear my side? Aunt Karen called the next morning. I was sitting in the motel parking lot eating a gas station granola bar. Whitney, honey, I know you mean well, but your mama is sick. This isn't the time to start a fight. Aunt Karen, I'm not starting a fight. Derek has been there every day. He cooks for her. He drives her to church. Well, he was driving her to church. She paused. The point is, he gave up everything after that divorce. And you show up after 18 months making accusations? I tried to speak but stopped, then tried again. Have you asked Derek where Mom's money went? Dorothy's money is her business. Derek would never steal from his own mother. Uncle Bob texted me later that day. Your father wouldn't want this, Whitney. Family doesn't fight like this. Cousin Rachel sent a long message that sounded kind but felt like blame. The meaning was clear. Maybe I should deal with my guilt before making things worse. By Wednesday, Derek's version of the story had spread through Millfield Baptist, the pharmacy, the diner on Main Street. My brother, the small-town hero, the devoted son caring for his sick mother, and me, the daughter who lived 4 hours away and only showed up when there was something to gain. He had done to me exactly what he did to Mom. Built a wall of lies, and dared anyone to question it. I called Claire Whitmore that evening from the motel room. My voice sounded steady, but my hands were shaking. He's blocking me from seeing her. The whole family is against me. Claire didn't hesitate. Then we go somewhere he can't block you. The law. Adult Protective Services called me back later. They had opened a case file. I finally exhaled. 3 days later, Derek sent an email to the entire family. Subject: Family meeting mom's future. Hi everyone, I'd like to invite you to meet at Mercy General this Sunday at 2 p.m. to discuss long-term care options for mom. She'll need full-time help, and I think we should make these decisions together as a family. Conference room B, 4th floor. Derek. I read it twice. The tone was warm, calm, reasonable. Classic Derek, the same voice that sold extended warranties on used cars. I knew exactly what this meeting was. He wanted the family to officially give him guardianship. He would sit at the head of the table, say all the right things about mom's care, and walk out with legal control over a woman whose savings he had already taken. I called Claire. He's holding a family meeting Sunday. He wants guardianship. Good, she said. Good? That's your opportunity. With what? He has the whole family on his side. Bring the bank statements. 3 copies. Your spreadsheet. The P.O. Box documentation. I'll come with you. You would come? Miss Henderson, I've handled over 40 elder abuse cases. The person responsible almost always tries to take full control while the victim can't fight back. That meeting is your moment. Saturday night, I sat in the Motel Business Center and printed 3 full sets of transaction records, 14 pages each. Highlighted. Yellow for ATM withdrawals, pink for purchases, green for transfers. I stapled each set, placed them into manila folders, added the P.O. Box paperwork and the signature comparisons. I took out the family photo I kept in my wallet. Mom, Dad, Derek, and me. Christmas 2014, all of us smiling in front of the tree. I didn't want to destroy my family, but my family had already been broken. I was just bringing the truth into the open. I didn't sleep that night, but I wasn't afraid. I was ready. Conference room B had beige walls, a long table with 8 rolling chairs, and a window that looked out over the parking lot. The fluorescent lights hummed the way they always do in hospitals. That low, steady sound that seems to get into your teeth. Everyone was there by 2 o'clock. Aunt Karen in her Sunday blouse, a silver cross resting against her collarbone. Uncle Bob in a flannel shirt, arms folded tight. Cousins Rachel and Tim sitting side by side, both looking uneasy. Pastor David sat at the far end, hands folded, quiet. Derek stood at the head of the table. Thank you all for coming, he said. He had shaved and put on a clean button-down shirt. He looked like a man about to give a speech at a funeral. Calm, serious, in control. Mom's recovery is going to take time. She's going to need full-time care. I've been here every day since she came in. I've been here every day for 18 months. He let those words settle in the room. I want to formally ask for the family's support to become Mom's legal guardian. Aunt Karen nodded slowly. Uncle Bob muttered something that sounded like agreement. Derek turned toward me. I sat at the opposite end of the table. Claire Whitmore was beside me, wearing a dark blazer, her briefcase on the floor. Whitney, I'm glad you're here, Derek said. He smiled, that same smooth smile. I hope we can work together on this. Then he looked at Claire, the smile faded just a little. Who's this? My attorney, I said. The room shifted. Aunt Karen frowned. Uncle Bob straightened up. Pastor David finally looked up. Attorney? Aunt Karen said. Whitney, this is a family meeting, not a courtroom. Derek's smile came back, wider this time. See? This is exactly what I meant. She's here to cause problems. I reached into my bag and pulled out the manila folder. It felt heavy in my hands. No, Derek? I said calmly. I'm here for Mom. I placed 3 stapled sets of papers on the table. I slid one toward Aunt Karen, one to Uncle Bob, and kept one in front of me. Mom's savings account, I said. My voice was steady. 18 months of transactions. 247 withdrawals. Total amount, $340,000. Current balance, $43.17. Aunt Karen picked up her copy carefully, like she was afraid of what she might see. Uncle Bob put on his reading glasses. No one spoke. Page 7, I said. June 15th, $3,200 sent through Zelle to Megan Torres. I looked at Derek. Your girlfriend. His face changed instantly. Page 11. 4 payments to Bet Reverse, an online gambling site. $15,000 total. Derek started to speak. That's not page 14, I said, not raising my voice. The last transaction. ATM withdrawal, $300. Time, 11:47 p.m. Location, the ATM in this hospital. I let the silence sit. Mom was admitted at 11:02 p.m. She was being taken into the emergency room while you went downstairs and took money from her account. Aunt Karen slowly lowered the papers. Her hands were shaking. Uncle Bob stared at the pages without moving. His glasses slid down his nose, but he didn't fix them. Pastor David stood up quietly and walked out of the room. Rachel covered her mouth. Tim stared at the table. Derek stood there, looking around the room, searching for someone to support him. No one met his eyes. I didn't need to raise my voice. 14 pages of facts spoke louder than anything I could say. Derek lifted his hands slightly. This is Mom's money, he said quickly. She gave it to me, I asked, and she said yes. I've been taking care of her. You were taking care of her, I said, while telling her that her daughter didn't want her. While changing her phone number, while canceling her doctor's appointments, while sending her bank statements to a P.O. box in your name. Aunt Karen turned sharply toward him. A P.O. box? Claire opened her briefcase and placed 2 documents on the table. The first was a letter from Adult Protective Services confirming an open investigation into financial exploitation. The second was a medical report from Mom's neurologist, showing signs of cognitive decline months before the stroke. Under Virginia law, Claire said clearly, taking money from an elderly person while they are mentally impaired and isolated from family is considered elder financial exploitation. It is a felony. Derek's face went pale. Everyone listen, he said, his voice cracking. This is my sister trying to take Mom away from me. She hasn't been here for 18 months. Uncle Bob slammed both hands on the table. The sound echoed in the room. Sit down, Derek. Derek froze. Sit down, he slowly sat. Aunt Karen stared at the papers again, her fingers moving over the highlighted lines. Yellow, pink, green, one after another. When she finally looked up, her eyes were filled with tears, fixed on Derek. She didn't say anything. She didn't need to. I placed one more paper on the table. The bank's address change form. Next to it, I placed a birthday card Mom had sent me years ago. Look at the signature, I said quietly. Then look at her handwriting on this card. Aunt Karen held them side by side. The difference was clear. The bank form was tight and uneven. The card was smooth and familiar. Derek changed the mailing address? Derek changed the mailing address 16 months ago, I said. The statements went to H. Is P.O. box. Mom never saw them. She had no idea the money was gone. Uncle Bob took off his glasses and pressed his fingers against his eyes. Rachel whispered, $340,000. Derek sat there, shoulders hunched, staring down. His lips moved, but no words came out. I looked at him, my brother, the one who pushed me on the tire swing, the one who drove me to my first school dance, the one who stood strong at Dad's funeral while I couldn't stop crying. You can repay money, Derek, I said, but you can't give back the 18 months she believed I didn't love her. The room went silent. Only the hum of the lights and a faint hospital monitor somewhere far away. Aunt Karen covered her face with her hands. Claire stood up calmly. She adjusted her blazer and spoke with quiet authority. I want everyone to understand what happens next. Tomorrow morning, we will file for emergency guardianship of Dorothy Henderson with Whitney Henderson as the proposed guardian. We have also reported this case to Adult Protective Services and referred it to the Commonwealth Attorney's Office for criminal investigation. Derek pushed his chair back. You can't do this. You're tearing this family apart. I looked at him. No, Derek. You did that when you took $300 from the hospital ATM while Mom was in the ER. Aunt Karen looked up, her voice shaking. Derek, is this true? All of it. He didn't answer. He grabbed his jacket, walked to the door. Uncle Bob spoke from across the table, his voice low and firm. Derek, if you walk out that door, don't come back. Derek stopped with his hand on the handle. 3 long seconds passed. Then he opened the door and walked out. The door closed behind him with a soft click that felt louder than it should. The room seemed to breathe again. I sat there with my hands resting on the folder. Through the window, I could see the parking lot below, and beyond it, the hospital wing where Mom was lying in room 412, still trying to speak again. Claire touched my elbow gently. You did well. It didn't feel that way. It felt like I had just cut open my own family to show the truth. I want to ask you something. When I sat in that room holding those papers, every person who judged me for 18 months finally saw what was real. But the hardest part wasn't proving what Derek did. The hardest part was accepting that my own brother did it. If you've ever had to choose between staying loyal to family and doing what is right, you understand how heavy that choice is. And this next part, this is where everything changed for Mom and for me. Monday morning, 9 a.m., the county courthouse in Millfield smelled like old wood and floor polish. Claire and I walked through the metal detector and went up to the second floor. Family court. We filed the emergency guardianship petition at the clerk's window. We attached everything, the bank records, the APS report, Dr. Patel's cognitive evaluation, the address change form, and my sworn statement describing 18 months of blocked calls, canceled visits, and my mother's own words in that hospital room. The judge, the Honorable Margaret Delaney, a gray-haired woman with bifocals, and a firm, no-nonsense expression, reviewed the file in her chambers. It took 40 minutes. She signed the order at 9:47 a.m. Whitney Henderson, appointed emergency temporary guardian of Dorothy Henderson. Derek Henderson, barred from accessing any financial accounts in Dorothy Henderson's name. All powers of attorney held by Derek revoked immediately. By 10:15, I was on the phone with Russell Cahill at the bank. Every ATM card connected to Mom's account was deactivated. Passwords changed. Alerts set for any withdrawal over $200. Statements redirected to my address in Richmond. By 11, I called Mercy General's Pat. Int services. Next of kin updated, visitor restrictions removed. Derek's name taken off as primary caregiver. At noon, I walked into room 412. Mom was sitting up in bed, a speech therapist helping her practice vowel sounds. When she saw me, her right hand reached out. I sat beside her and held her hand. For the first time since I arrived in Millfield, for the first time in 18 months, my mother smiled at me. Small, uneven from the stroke, but real. "I'll be here every day, Mom," I said softly. "I promise." She squeezed my fingers once, then again. That was enough. The investigator from the Commonwealth Attorney's Office was a woman named Lieutenant Dana Marsh. Around 50, short hair, reading glasses hanging on a chain. She met me in a small interview room the next afternoon. I brought everything: the bank records, the spreadsheet color-coded with notes, the P.O. Box documents, the signature comparisons, screenshots of Derek's messages, and a printout of his Facebook photo with Megan Torres from the same time as the transfers. She reviewed each page carefully, writing notes on a yellow pad. $28,000 to the girlfriend, she said quietly. $15,000 to gambling. $47,000 to credit cards. She looked up. "Did your mother ever gamble?" "My mother's idea of fun was Scrabble and sweet tea." She nodded. "We'll request ATM security footage for that hospital withdrawal. The timestamps will confirm everything." "They will," I said. She closed her notebook. "This is exactly the kind of case we take seriously." She walked me to the door, then paused. "Do you know if your brother had a gambling problem before this? He lost his last job. Said it was performance issues, but I never got details." She wrote something down. "We'll look into that." I sat outside on a stone bench. The afternoon sun came through the trees, warm and steady. I called Patty. I told her. Her voice broke. "Your mama would be proud of you." 3 days after the meeting, my phone rang at 9 p.m. Derek. I almost didn't answer. His voice was different. No confidence, no smooth tone, just broken. "Whitney, please don't go through with the charges. I'll pay it back. I'll sell the car. I'll sell everything. You took $340,000, Derek. How much do you actually have?" Silence. "I'll figure it out. Just, please, I'm your brother. You're the brother who told Mom I didn't want her." "I know," he said, his voice cracking. "I know. I was drowning. Tammy took the boys. I lost my job. The gambling, it got out of control. I told myself I'd fix it. But you didn't. No. You changed her address so she wouldn't see the statements." "Yes. You changed her phone number so I couldn't reach her. I was scared you'd find out. And the night of her stroke? The ATM?" He started crying, loud, uneven sobs. "She was in the ambulance. I wasn't thinking. I had bills. Don't tell me what Mom would want," I said calmly. "You've spoken for her long enough." He kept crying. "I love Mom," he said. "Then you should have protected her," I replied. "Instead, you became the person she needed protection from." I ended the call. 6 weeks later, the grand jury returned the indictment. Derek Allen Henderson, 3 counts of elder financial exploitation, 1 count of forgery, 1 count of identity theft. If convicted, he was facing years in prison. Claire called me with the news while I sat beside Mom at the rehabilitation center in Henrico County. I had moved her closer, just 20 minutes from my place. She was working with a therapist, practicing sound, squeezing a foam ball in her hand. "Slow progress, but real progress. He's been indicted on all counts," Claire said. "His lawyer will likely push for a plea deal." "Okay," I said quietly. "Yo, you, all right?" I'm sitting with my mother while she relearns how to say the word daughter. So no. But I'm where I need to be. I stayed out of the legal fight after that. The evidence was there. The law would do its part. I focused on Mom. One afternoon, during a quiet moment, she turned to me. Her words came slowly, carefully. "Whitney, did your brother take my money?" I put down my magazine. "Yes, Mom, he did." She closed her eyes. A tear slipped down her cheek. "I'm sorry," she whispered. I took her hand. "You have nothing to be sorry for. He lied to both of us." She looked at me and said softly, "I thought you forgot me." "Never, Mom. Not even for a day. Here are the numbers, plain and simple. $340,000 gone. Derek's remaining assets, about $47,000. the car, some electronics, a small amount in his account. After tracing everything, the most we could recover was around $60,000. That left $280,000 gone forever. Mom's monthly income was $3,500. Assisted living cost $4,000 to $6,000 a month. The math didn't work. So I did what I had to do. I sold my apartment in Richmond, the one I spent 4 years paying for, the one with the bay window where I used to sit on Sunday mornings. I made $52,000 after costs. I moved into a small studio, 600 square feet, street noise, a tiny kitchen. The rest went into Mom's care fund. She spent 30 years saving. Careful, steady, disciplined, gone in 18 months. I would spend years trying to rebuild even part of it, and I accepted that. Some losses aren't just money, they're time. The years she spent saving, and the years I would spend making up for it. Millfield is a small town, about 1,200 people, 2 traffic lights, 1 diner where everyone knows your name. News doesn't travel there, it explodes. Within a week, everyone knew. The church members, the pharmacist, the post office worker who rented Derek. That P.O. box without knowing why. Pastor David didn't say Derek's name, but his sermon that Sunday was about betrayal within families. Everyone understood. Megan Torres, the girlfriend who received $28,000, ended things the day after the charges became public. She actually called me, crying. I didn't know, she said. He told me it was his severance pay. I swear, I didn't know. I believed her. I didn't have the energy not to. Aunt Karen called me on a Wednesday evening, 3 weeks after the meeting. She didn't start with small talk. Whitney, I owe you an apology. For 18 months, I told people you were the problem. I was wrong. You weren't wrong for trusting your nephew, I said quietly. You were wrong for not asking your niece. She stayed silent for a long moment. You're right. I should have called you. Yes, you should have. One by one, the extended family started reaching out. Some said sorry directly. Some just asked how Mom was doing, which was its own kind of apology. I accepted each one without keeping score. Rebuilding already takes enough energy without keeping a list of who said what. Claire got a court order that kept Derek away from the property. The house on Maple Street, the white fence, the azalea beds, the porch swing, sat quiet while Mom recovered. Patty checked on it, collected the mail, watered the plants. The town moved on. Towns always do. But my mother's name carried a different kind of weight now. Not pity. Respect. 2 months after the stroke, Mom's speech came back in pieces. Nouns first, then verbs, then the small words that connect everything. Her therapist said recovery is like stairs, not a ramp. Some days you move up, some days you slide back. One Tuesday afternoon in December, Mom sat by the window in her wheelchair, watching birds fight over a feeder. I was next to her answering emails. She hadn't spoken in a while. Then she said, I remember. I put my phone down. I tried to call you, she said slowly. I used your old number. It didn't work. I asked Derek. He said you changed it. He said you didn't give it to him. I opened my call history and showed her months of calls. Every week. I called you every week, Mom. Every single week. She stared at the screen, counting the entries. Then she looked at me, and her face changed. The right side, the side that still worked, crumpled with emotion. Every week, she whispered. She reached for me. I leaned in and she pressed her forehead against my shoulder. I was so angry at you, she said softly. For months, and you were calling the whole time. It's not your fault, Mom. None of this is your fault, she cried. And for the first time since all of this started, I cried too. Right there in that rehab room with birds outside and therapy scheduled in half an hour, we grieved the 18 months we lost. The plea deal came in February, 4 months after the charges. Derek pleaded guilty to 1 count of elder financial exploitation. The other charges were included in the deal. His sentence, 3 years suspended, 5 years of probation, $60,000 in restitution, 500 hours of community service, and a protective order. No prison time, as long as he followed every rule. Claire called me with the news while I sat outside Mom's therapy room. It's done, she said. He accepted the deal. Okay, I answered. Are you all right? I looked through the glass as Mom tried to stand, holding onto the support bars. 1 step, then another. He's not going to prison, I said. No. A small part of me thought he should, for everything he did. But a bigger part of me just wanted it to end. I didn't need him in a cell. I needed my mother safe. And that was enough. 6 months after the stroke, Mom came home. I drove her myself. It was a Thursday morning in April. The dogwoods were blooming again along Route 15, just like the night I drove down in the rain. This time the sky was clear. Mom sat in the passenger seat, watching the mountains. She used a walker now. Her left side was still weak. Her speech was better but still slow. She needed help with daily things. I hired a part-time caregiver named Gloria. Kind, practical early 50s. She came every morning, I adjusted my job schedule so I could be there part of the week. When we pulled into the driveway, Patty was waiting. She had planted fresh azaleas and tied a ribbon to the porch. I helped Mom out of the car. She stood there, holding her walker, looking at the house. "Home," she said. Inside, I had made changes. Lower bed, grab bars, a cordless phone with my number set as speed dial 1. I set up a new bank account with strict controls, alerts, shared statements, everything monitored. Nothing like before would ever happen again. That Sunday, I sent an email to the whole family. I explained that Mom was home, that I was her legal guardian, and that all communication would go through me. Derek's visits would only happen under supervision, no exceptions. Aunt Karen called within an hour. "I understand. I support you." "Then come visit Mom," I said. "She'd love that." "I will." I made one last call to Derek. "You can see Mom through supervised visits," I said. "I won't block that, but you will make every payment, and you will never speak about me to her without me there." He was quiet. Then he asked, "Do you hate me?" I thought about it. Really thought. "No," I said, "I don't EU. But I don't trust you. And that's not my fault." I ended the call. I stood in the kitchen and looked out at the yard where we grew up, the fence, the flowers, the place where everything started. I don't owe anyone forgiveness on a schedule, but I owe my mother safety every single day. That's the line I hold. I'm not telling this story so you hate my brother. He lost everything in a short time and made terrible choices. That doesn't make him a monster. It makes him someone who chose the wrong path when things fell apart. I'm telling you this because someone reading this might be living a version of it right now. Maybe you live far from your parents. Maybe a sibling moved in and slowly became the gatekeeper. Maybe your calls go unanswered. Maybe someone told your parent that you don't care. If that's you, listen carefully. Living far away doesn't make you a bad child. Distance is not abandonment. And if someone is using that distance against you, that is not your shame. Call. Check in. Ask questions. Even if they feel uncomfortable. Talk to neighbors, doctors, banks if you need to. Because finding out too late is far worse than asking hard questions early. And if you discover something is wrong, act. Not out of anger, not for revenge, but because the people who raised you deserve protection, even when the danger comes from inside the family. I lost 18 months with my mother. 18 months where she truly believed I had forgotten about her. I will carry that with me for the rest of my life. But I refuse to lose even one more day. The hardest call I ever made wasn't to a lawyer, or the bank, or even the district attorney. It was the moment I finally told myself, stop trusting your brother more than your own instincts. Sunday afternoon in May, the kitchen smells like chicken soup. Mom's recipe, the same one she taught me when I was 12. Bone broth, carrot, celery, 1 bay leaf, and more black pepper than any normal recipe would suggest. She always said the secret wasn't the ingredients, it was time. Low and slow, Whitney, she used to say. Let it do its work. Mom is sitting in Dad's old recliner near the window. Patty is across from her on the love seat knitting something purple. A scarf, I think, or maybe something else entirely. With Patty, you never really know. The radio sits on the kitchen counter playing an old station. A song by Frankie Valli drifts through the room. Mom hums along just a little behind the beat. Whitney. Yeah, Mom. She waits until I turn and look at her. The left side of her face still droops a little, and her words come slower than before. But her eyes are clear, sharp, present. The soup needs more salt. I laugh. A real laugh, the kind that starts deep and shakes your shoulders. Patty laughs too, and Mom smiles, a little uneven, but completely herself. I add a pinch of salt, stir the pot and glance out the window above the sink, the white fence, the azaleas in full bloom, pink and white. My Civic parked outside next to Patty's Subaru, the porch swing moving just slightly in the breeze, like it remembers every person who ever sat there. Mom's bank account has $4,200 in it today. This month's pension. A little extra I added last Friday. It's a long, long way from $340,000. But she's here. She's safe, and she knows I never left. The soup simmers quietly. Patty's knitting needles click together in a steady rhythm. Mom hums along to the music, and through the kitchen window, the afternoon light stretches across the flowers in soft gold. For now, that's enough. That really is enough. That's my story. If you made it all the way to the end, thank you. I truly mean that. If this story made you think of someone in your life, or gave you the feeling that you should check on your parents, do it today. Don't wait, don't put it off. Don't lose time you can't get back. I'd like to hear from you. If you could say one thing to Derek, what would it be? Or, if you've lived through something like this and found your way through it, share it. Your story might help someone who's going through the same thing right now. And if you want to hear more stories like this, take a look at the description. There are a few more you might connect with. I'll see you in the next one.